Yes, sir.
Man, it's a lot of different things. I'm glad you chose this topic. It's a lot of things to address. I guess where I'll start is
Talking shit.
um I think particularly black people of this generation and younger, we have a history problem. We're not as interested in history as older generations were.
Mm-hmm.
We're not passing the information down like older generations did through word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? At a time where just that belief in self was part of the survival, we've kind of grown distance to that mindset, and we start to believe like we as individuals can do it. So I think that increases our chances of being vulnerable to kind of like outside actors, because we don't have a grasp of like an entire picture of like what our people have like overcome, all the amazing inventions that they created that were stolen, the patents that were stolen, all the things we created. Right, when we talk about music, I've always said I kind of laugh at our criticism of like the entertainment industry, and I think it's only because we don't own it. I think if we owned it, we wouldn't be as critical of it. But things like that, just all the industry that we've created that we don't own. Black people specifically in America have done a lot, and I just think like if we slow the conversations down a little bit and kind of have that in the back of our mind when we talk about our people, I think it'll change our tone a little bit. Even the way we talk about each other, helping. I know I'm one of the people that came into this space criticizing the conversation. And I think it's just like my science brain, because I'm always thinking like, what are the metrics for success? What is the time period? At what point do we stop and say, okay, we've been doing this for 8 months. What have we gathered? And I guess my concern is, and I've even heard you say it as well, Help, like no one has changed their mind about anything for the most part. So if people's minds aren't being changed with all this information that we continually discuss and pass along, then what are we actually doing? What are we here for? If nobody's, you got so many great panelists that come up with these one-liners, with these stats they memorize, like the Pledge of Allegiance, right? All this information, and no one has moved from their original position. As thinking people, we have to ask, like, well, what does that say then? What is our intent of having these conversations? So, for me, it's not that I don't think the conversations are necessary. I'm just not sure the people who are participating in the conversations are actually receiving or digesting the information that might make them do something that could be a benefit to all of us. The majority of people that are here, I'm sure there's some people, the minority of people get this information and they've made changes, but I think the majority of us kind of treat this like our favorite series that comes on every Friday. Yeah,
it's entertainment. You're 100% accurate, Shad, in that you're on par, right? I think that it's important that we have the conversation, like you said, just generally speaking, because the topic is substantive and there's a lot of offerings, right? But the presupposition and the preconceived notions people don't move off of. Here's the thing. It's always the minority. It's always the minority since time immemorial doing the right thing.
That's true.
Always. And so when we expect to galvanize and change the majority, we just haven't seen it before. But we know it can be done because a nigga won Woman of the Year twice.
Wow. That's wild.
Right? You see them?
Two different niggas, too.
Two different niggas.
Who was the second one?
One of them white boy. They put a nigga woman on the Bud Light bottle. Remember?
I don't drink beer, so I ain't know that.
Mania or some shit. So I'm saying that we've seen impossible shit happen. So there's an opportunity for what you want. But just remember, I'm saying but on purpose. It's always been the minority doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great offering. There was something else you said, but that point is I'm done.
And then the other thing is, and I understand, like I've learned, when you first come around, you got to kind of understand how things operate. You got to kind of get with the program. So I don't take as much offense as I used to, but I did like just notice something that happened recently, right? Like just the visceral reaction that people have to men who, let's say, quote unquote, I'm gonna just use the word they use. You simp for black women, you pander, or whatever these words are used. The visceral reaction that we have towards men that do that, compared to the visceral reaction we have when black men kowtow around white people, it was mind-boggling to me to just see how in this space where all the tough, masculine, strong men are, to watch them see black men in the face of white people kind of take on that balanced approach, and well, I'm here to learn. And nobody wanted to fight them. Nobody wanted to. It just interesting, and I just have to ask the question like what's going on? What's happening? I don't know. It's like you just because they're white, the information is more solid. It's like I don't know. I don't want to act like I have the answer, but just observing that, just like what's the difference? Like, and I guess sometimes like a person like me, I have to maybe sometimes like slow down my judgment because my anecdotal experience, like I said, being from Mississippi, moving to Atlanta, two beautiful black cities where it's ghettos, but like black people, there's still problems, right? It ain't like Atlanta perfect, but you still kind of see that like black centric mentality. You still see people trying to do things, even though it's imperfect, you still see it. And when I hear a lot of people talk, it seems like their experience isn't similar to that. So, which is why, like, in the face of all the things, the ghetto, the twerking women, all these videos y'all show on Instagram, I still kind of have this poise about my understanding about black people, like who we are collectively. We have factions, but collectively, we're resilient people. And we was having a conversation earlier about the bootstrap thing. And I told you, I said, man, black people are literally the quintessential bootstrap people of the fucking world. Who's more bootstrapped than us?
And that's the interesting conversation, right? Because this is why, Shad, they can have 50 fucking channels on Twitter from people from Pakistan.
Right.
Because nobody ain't scared of us.
Right.
We don't control shit. We don't own shit. We don't take nothing serious. We love drama. Right. All of our I'm saying all, but all don't mean all.
Mm-hmm.
All of our representation is bullshit. We don't know our history.
Right.
We don't understand why even being bootstrap oriented didn't work when you have redlining and you can't get loans and you don't have access to the patent office.
Right.
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 So you could play with a nigga that don't know himself.
Yep.
So when we say bootstrap, I'm saying, and I mean this lovingly, prove it. Because where do we go to say that we held it down? Now, I agree with you. You said this before. There were a lot more insurrections than we know of.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there were enough either, you see. So I know Denmark Vesey. I bet 90% of people here don't know Denmark Vesey.
Mm-hmm.
I know 95% of them don't know Gabriel Prosser. Mm-hmm. Right? I know they know Nat.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for what's that boy who made the movie?
I forgot his name. Yeah, the one that didn't come out. Damn, I forgot his name.
He got in some trouble for some other shit, so now he done disappeared.
He was a white girl too, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, right, I appreciate that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of black people who fought in these different wars since forever.
Right.
And made an impact.
Right.
But we don't know that, so you could lie to a nigga about anything.
Right.
Because when do we take the time to invest in ourselves to show that we've actually pulled ourselves up? Because every single psyop and every single epidemic that they put on us, we fell for. We couldn't pivot with the offshoring, like Sherelle said. Mm-hmm. When you got Reaganomics and all these different, what happens to our families? Drugs, guns, butter, all that.
Right.
The hip hop that they push, we play into it. We don't give a fuck about Mos Def. Nobody want to hear that shit. So I'm just saying, prove it that we bootstrap people. You see what I mean? And I mean it justly, like,
When you say prove it, are you speak? Because I would say our generation specifically has a new charge that we haven't necessarily proven it. But I mean, if you look at prior generations of black people, and you familiar with you familiar with the Deontay guy, right? He's a content creator, right? You familiar with him? Hamp with the locks.
Deontay Cal
with the locks.
No.
Okay. Though I really like what he represents, but he said something recent. I was like, man, though he was like, just talking about like it's been almost 60 years since like the civil rights movement out of that era, and he was like, as a black people, we got to start having like a real conversation of where we are, right? Like other groups of people had a 400-year head start for black people in America as far as just being industrialized, being able to obtain the full rights that American citizens are supposed to have. Evaluate us from that perspective. It's amazing.
Right.
It's an amazing story. It's the greatest comeback story in the history of the fucking world. From my opinion, maybe I'm biased because I'm black. So you see what I'm saying? Like, but we don't have the conversation in that way. We kind of adopt the mindset of the people that oppressed us.
Mm-hmm.
Look at them niggas in the hood. Look at them niggas. That's why I had to ask Miss Fantastic yesterday. Like, respectfully, when you say shit like niggas gonna be niggas, I really want to understand what that means. What does that mean from a heart standpoint?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? Because when I think about niggas, there's a lot of good stuff. We do some bullshit too. But I can name a lot of great things that niggas have done. Once we ever get out of chains.
No, I think there's a lot of great. I'm not negating the great things, you know, but do we look at it from a macro perspective, or do we do the one-to-one? Because that's essentially what's kind of being illustrated. Like, are we in mass doing these things to where we've shown that we've upheld the standards that were given us during Reconstruction? Because that's damn near as far as you got to go back. Because then when we start talking about when we were married in the 60s, what did it say? The women didn't actually want to be there. They was getting their ass whooped. And thank God for feminism. So now the women are staying. And now you see that we're only 30% married. You see? So the things that you said were great when we had the conversation today, now we tear down those relationships. You see? You heard it, right? A million times. The color purple syndrome. So we literally be punching out. You know what? It's just, like you said, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Why can't we balance conversation?
That's a great combo, right, Shad, though? Right? Because you said it, but then it's like easily they'll say, nah, them women ain't want to be there.
Right.
It just it's tough. It's tough.
But that's another thing about the history thing, right? Because we in this new age. So it's like even within our history, you know, we may feel like, okay, all this time we believe we were some niggas from Africa who got brought over here in slavery. You got a whole new wave of people saying, you know, we wasn't never in Africa. And slavery never happened like it happened. We was just prisoners of war. We was always over here. We the natives. Then you change the story. They're saying Harriet Tubman is a fictionary tale. Shit never happened. That's not a real person. Nat Turner, not a real person. And then they're telling us just about our history, just an example, everything that we look at when we start to go more in depth with it. Even with the situation with the town that they bombed, right? The Tulsa situation. They go into facts and switch that around and talk about how a black person did something to a white person and that's why that happened and it never happened like this. Rosewood, right? So it's like all the information now that we held on to as we was coming up, when we talk about it now, it's so many new facts and new stats and switched up changing. It's like, damn, soon as we feel like it's like we really don't have a firm ground to stand on about who we are.
Can I ask a quick question?
That's why it's so easy to believe we them niggas, because we don't really have no identity, right? And that's what prophecy say, that nobody know you niggas. You niggas unknown. You niggas will be washed, right? Because every time we the Moors, but we the Hebrew Israelites, but we the natives, but we from Africa. We don't know shit. So it's like, can we hold on to a history when we don't know? Because everybody got some new shit to sell us.
Can I ask a quick question for clarification? Does everyone agree that mankind, all humans, originated in Africa? Do we all agree there?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Like
us? Are you saying us?
The first human was from Africa, right?
Well,
the first human remains
the land masses and such, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'm saying for me, and I could be wrong. This is because, right, growing up, I always linked to Africa. And so I started getting older, I started learning, you know what I mean, about these other possibilities. But I guess for me, the way I just kind of make it make sense, even the folks who were here, they all, like, everyone came from Africa and traveled the world. So there's still a lineage somewhere in the history of time to Africa. But that's my understanding. Y'all might have different understanding, but I guess I'm saying for me to make it make sense logically, if all human beings started in that part of the world, then why do we need to create these separations? What's the strategy for creating these? I understand what Tiff is saying, how it can get, when we're trying to do things specifically for Black Americans, I can get muddled. When I just think about the priorities, I don't know, this like trying to separate ourselves from Africa, me just doesn't seem like it's
strategic and it's needed. And this is one of the things that irritate the hell out of me, is because you ask somebody, when was Nigeria formed? When was Ethiopia formed? It's people that have been in America and been in the States longer than some of these African countries. So part of what the thing is, because we don't feel like we have a tie to the land and we let people ghost us out. You are an American. Your lineage is from here.
Dang, to broke up. She back? Did she come back for y'all?
Nah, she's still frozen.
No, yeah, that's what it is though, Shad, right? Because everybody don't believe it, right? So there's people who believe that this is the old Egypt, that this is the original lands. They've proven that the Olmec heads and the pyramids on this side of the world, when you check the Grand Canyon, all of that shit predates Africa. It's all civilization has always been here. They feel like this is the motherland, and that the story's been flipped around to just basically us, right? For us to let the original man think that they're not the origin, or they're not the original, to confuse us. So the story has been flipped to tell you from way somewhere else. And then they're gonna tell them niggas, show us some boats. Niggas ain't got one slave ship. Niggas drawing picture black and white. Niggas ain't got no proof that they could put 100,000 niggas on a boat with 6 white men with 6 guns and bring them all over here civilized. They telling you that there ain't no way they made the middle. They made the middle passage. They starting to add logic to the stories that they telling, and it be coming up like it's folklore. So we can't repeat that shit again.
Question: What are we mining through right now, though? That
was me. I asked a quick question. That's me. I kind of derailed a little bit. That's me.
Yeah, no, but I think Sherelle is correct with just a lot of the right, because Shad, if I were to retort that, if I wanted to. Like, I would bring up Pangea, right? So now because the content literally fit together,
right? Yep.
Then like, what's Africa?
Right, I got you.
So then I'm not calling it a rabbit hole, but it'll kind of lead you to like what Sherelle's saying, like boom, this, then that, then this, then that.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really put it a knock against us to say that we don't know our history, because man, history keep getting manipulated. It just keeps getting manipulated. It's whitewashed. Man, Jesus was a black man with dreads walking through the desert, and he's a whole white man with blue eyes, blonde hair, and a bust down. So it's the world keeps changing history. But
Rel, what Shad was pinpointing is more direct history, like 60, 70 years, 80 years ago. Right. You don't even have to go like soup, you know what I mean? To where that stuff is a little bit more concrete. And we literally have people alive that can tell us that history. Right. That's the history that we don't even know. Because if my grandma tell me something, then I can go research people around that time frame and duplicate or replicate what she said in my ears. Right. But we don't even know that shit.
Right. And because for me, Hamp, like the reason why I ask those questions when I talk about history, right? Because we had a conversation about women twerking, which I understand why decorum is important. Specifically, we talking about like intra relationships, like men and women. I might got that. I always get that backwards. Yeah. Then I think about like Black respectability in regards to like America, and I know for a fact, because history shows us, Black people can be perfect Christians, and it will not change the way they're looked at, the way they're perceived, the way they're treated. So for me, I'm like, the conversation is important. But when I think about like, if I'm thinking about priorities, me personally, again, this isn't thing towards what we've done here already. But I'm saying, man, even if we stop twerking, even if Black women stop twerking, will it change our position in America? Right? Because I understand through like history has shown me, no, they have an issue with the Black body if it's standing still, no matter what it's doing. Right? So that's why I'm just saying, have like just the understanding of history wise is important. Even the conversation we was having in the Discord about starting something new, and I kind of came off mute saying we won't have an army, and at that time it was like, Shad, that's not appropriate right now. I was like, okay, cool, I understand that, but I'm like, but when I look at history, the things we were talking about have been done before, but that was one of the things in the army is not just physical, it's intellectual too, right? Because how do we prevent the next Willie O'Neill, who was the crook right? He was a crook that the FBI found. He stole a car, and they said, "Hey, nigga, if you either go to jail or you do this." Bro said, "I ain't going to jail. Let me get them Panthers up out of here." So I'm saying, how do we prevent the next time we finally get something, the next Willie O'Neal being an infiltrator? Because intellectual, we don't know how to find the double agents.
Yeah, no, 100%, but 100%, and I'm putting a period on that part, right? I want to rewind though. The effects of twerking aren't inconsequential.
For sure, 100%, 100%.
Because the overarching thing, Shad, is people don't take us serious.
Right, I got you.
And you know what men don't respect? Other men who don't have no control over their women. Other men don't respect men who will get embarrassed by their women.
Right.
You see? So a lot of this has effects on how can you create an army ain't nobody fucking scared of?
Right.
Like that, it's just so valuable. And then when we look at the propaganda, of the East Indian, and he can propagate that shit, and then we'll replicate it, or they literally looking at the behavior and saying, "Oh, AI this, AI that," because I can see them actually doing that shit in real time. And again, I know we overemphasized on the twerking, but it's just tangible. It's easy to kind of converse about.
But in the spirit of conceding, that's why I didn't come up and try to be like, because I'm like, what you said is important. So my thoughts based on what I know about history in this conversation will get in the way of me trying to come say, hey, this is not a priority, because what you just said is very valuable. But that's what I'm saying. Like, these conversations can be good when we actually like putting our thinking caps on and understanding. Yeah, for me personally, but for the larger group, it makes sense to have this conversation. So I'm gonna just be quiet.
Yeah. What would be? Well, I'm interested though. What would be one of the offerings, that we can, because what they doing is working, like that page had 380,000 subscribers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and it's like they found a way to exploit, So what were one of the offerings that you, or what's something that you did want to mention?
Well, I think this conversation we're having right now, like y'all, we talk about code a lot, like again, but you have to have a full understanding of your people, right? To be able, like I said, we can talk shit about each other in the house, right? We can go at it. You can call me all, but when we step in public, we step aligned. That's why for me, it's like we've taken all of our in-house conversations and brought them to the forefront. And like you said, people are saying, "Oh, there's tension in the house. The family is feuding. Let's jump on this." And I'm saying we still gotta work it out, because what I noticed, and that's why I said it's not that the conversations aren't one. I mentioned about no one changing their minds, but what I've witnessed, and when you have these same similar conversations in person, they're just not as contentious, because I think there are two people who actually come for understanding. Like a lot of these conversations are for someone to win and someone to lose. So I'm not gonna concede because I want to win in front of the crowd. When it's over with, I want people to be like, yeah, Shad, spank that nigga. But if I'm talking to a woman in the world, right, and we both know, yeah, we ain't nobody getting married. You got all the success, but you single. I got all the success. I'm single. What we doing? And then they're gonna tell me they side of it. Then I'm gonna say my side. But both of those sides at some point got to come together. What we gonna do? That's how the conversations. I would argue the conversations happen like that more often in public. But here we come for the show. A show like that wouldn't be to entertain the two people having a very nuanced conversation. Coming to the table, yeah, as a man, this I added P to the pool. This I added P to the pool. Okay, cool. What do we do now? It's two people who got the fucking pool pissy. What do we do now about it? Because I can't retrace my steps. What do we do now? Because the kids behind us gonna follow our lead, and right now we not really giving them a good example to follow. What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
I'm not at the end of this conversation. I'm not trying to beat you down. I understand a lot of people say shame, which shame can be effective. In some instances, but when I look at history, just shame itself has not been that successful. From what I've seen, shaming people into doing things only hasn't been that successful from my point of view.
A few responses to the offerings.
Okay,
what you're actually talking about is private conversation. In person and private are different, because here's what we do know coming up without the cameras. Mm-hmm. Let's say me and you got a beef. Mm-hmm. Let the girls come.
I just talked about that. I got beat up trying to impress a chick.
let the crowd come over there.
Got whooped.
Now, we did this one time. These two niggas arguing. Y'all want to fight so because we got in trouble. They start fighting at football practice at camp. Y'all motherfuckers want to fight knowing we got 3 days? Okay. We got back to the football dorm. We locking both of y'all bitch ass niggas in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Roses and bubbles flew out the bottom of the door. Because wasn't nobody watching? There wasn't nobody to impress. It wasn't in the heat of the moment. Them niggas talked it out in that room.
I'm not saying private. I'm saying the conversation can still be public. But when I talk about that code, like me and my brother, right? Me and my brother to go edit his kids. But in the public, that's a little bro. And if you touch him, I'm on you. And that's real life how I was. But in the house, we had some rumblings. But when we came to the public, you know what I mean? So I guess what I'm saying is when we have public conversations, like just the way we talk to each other, the way we should have more consideration, because I think it gives other people
a way in.
A way in to do similar things. Yeah,
we embarrassing each other in public too.
Right.
You see, there's a lot of just dynamics that come to it. But I've seen similar behavior when the crowd is there, person, but private conversation is conducted differently. I wholeheartedly agree. I'm just making a distinction with those two things. And then there was the last thing you said that I wanted to respond to. Then I get cheeky in. What is the last thing you said?
I forgot, bro. I'm sorry.
Damn, it was
it might come to me. I forgot.
You were saying damn. So the other thing,
the last thing he was saying was, I'm successful, you successful, we not getting married. And then he was like, you putting P in the dating pool, I'm putting P in the dating pool, where do we go from here?
Yeah, that's the civil conversation. Damn, bro, it was and I was saying, I don't know why I said, I don't think it came back to me what I want to say. But there's the thing that I did. What I want to say was these conversations, and I said this earlier, I'm gonna say it again.
Mm-hmm.
These conversations are real, right? I think we discussed the salacious aspect of them, but they are real, and people are really dealing with this stuff. And I want to behoove us to not lean too much into this is just the internet, because it's real people coming up here from all walks of life, and we're just conversing, you know. Also, the reason why this is uberly important because I wouldn't know y'all. You see, right. And if we don't broach these conversations, you don't hit the link from being annoyed by how it's having it, and then we don't get these offerings.
Right, for
sure. I don't know Cheeky. I don't know Sherelle. Right, and y'all come from different environments too, and so this actually allows us to get way more into the conversation than I ever would from where I am, or from where I'm from.
Right.
You know, so that part, I think I'm looking at cost benefit, but I catch your drift.
Yeah, I would just say you should always end. I would end my point with, but this is valuable. What's happening is very valuable. Like, despite my criticisms of some of the days, what's happening right now is valuable, because this is, I would say previous generations probably did similar things, but they didn't have the internet to do it. So it's faster this way. We can connect with people easier. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm with you. That
shit is so